Hello and welcome. This is the first learning block of the first lesson here in Head Start Data Essentials. What I'm going to do here is run through some things that hopefully are at least going to ring a bell from Head Start Data Basics. They are going to review some of the topics and the origins and the impact and the organization of the Head Start program. And these are important for us to keep in mind and remember when we're talking about how and why we use data. So this is really going to trace a very quick restructuring of what you saw in the first lessons in Head Start Data Basics. So strap on your seatbelt, get ready to go, because we're going to go through this relatively quickly. When we talk about Head Start, one of the things that we always want to keep in mind is where Head Start comes from. Head Start is a unique organization within government, and it comes from a very particular time in the evolution of American government and is really part of a specific set of assumptions about how government works and how it should work. So if we think back to the origins of Head Start, we're talking here about the Great Society programs under President Johnson, really starting in 1964. One of the big things that Johnson is trying to do is to really transform American society. The idea here was we were going to fight a war on poverty and we were going to really change how the social system worked in this country. So the Great Society has a whole series of programs, one of which is the Head Start program, designed to help poor children get a head start before they went into school. One of the key things about Head Start is it's about local empowerment. Local people do the work and the federal government pays the bills. This is different from a system in which the federal government directly controls every aspect of a program that's being run in a local area. It's also different than when the state is running a program in a particular area. There's a big distinction here. Local organizations are given general guidelines about how to run the program by the federal government that are the requirements for funding, but those local organizations carry out the work and they are independent from any of the other governmental systems that are there. They only have to do what's required by the funding and also all of the licensing and other things that you need to operate as a facility that takes care of children in the different states. But remember, this is a big deal. It's in some sense a legacy of the time where there was still segregation. There was a real fear that you couldn't trust southern states to operate these programs the way that they were supposed to. But also this was about empowering local communities to do things, not focusing on government entirely, but local communities as well. So local empowerment is a key part of Head Start from the very beginning. And that local part is going to matter a lot because when we talk about Head Start, the goal here is to provide a level playing field for all children. The big factor here is that poor children are at a disadvantage when they get into kindergarten compared to children who are wealthier. There are a lot of factors for this. There are a lot of sociological factors, societal factors, and a big part of it is just poverty is tough. But the goal here is that if we can create a level playing field, we can help to break the cycle of poverty, where children who are born into poverty stay in poverty for their entire lives. So the idea here is if you can level the playing field, get them into a quality education program, they have the opportunity to better themselves through their own hard work and effort through the educational system. If we can get rid of that disadvantage that poor kids have going into kindergarten, that's a positive thing. Head Start is a holistic program. It's not just about education of the child in what we would think of as kind of academic skills, to the extent that we can define them that way for children. It's a holistic approach. It isn't just take the child, give them the education. It also involves health, parent education, all of these other aspects of it. Teaching a parent how to be there and to be engaged for that child is an important part of it. It has to be suited to local needs. Rural poverty doesn't look like urban poverty in a lot of different ways. There's big differences there. So what you want to be able to do is say, this community can do the things that make sense for this community in leveling that playing field. And this is a big deal because one of the things that this is going to mean is that there is flexibility in how Head Start works. It's not a one size fits all, everything looks the same everywhere program. There's an acknowledgement from the very beginning and the very design of the program that different communities are going to have different needs in practice. As long as the overall program requirements are met, these local grantees, the local recipients, are able to do what they need to do to make the program work in their areas. But the goal here is a holistic approach to preparing children for school and preparing families for school as well. Having that parent education side of it so that parents can be advocates for their children. So when we think about this, we think about the Great Society in 1964, we think about what they were trying to do. One of the keys here is that they're building local empowerment for specific goals to prepare kids and families for school. So that's where Head Start comes from. Over the years, one of the most amazing things about Head Start is you can literally say that tens of millions of families have been helped. Tens of millions of families have seen their lives improved through the Head Start program. And about 1 million families per year continue to this day to have their children participate in Head Start programs and get the benefit of the program. So Head Start is a very large, very impactful program. The key here in terms of people, and this chart is the same chart that you saw in Head Start Data Basics, the total number of children funded is huge. The number of kids that are participating in the program every year is big, but it's varied a lot over time. One of the big increases comes with the early Head Start program. In the early 1990s, you see an expansion of social welfare programs after the end of the Cold War when there was more money to spend on them. And so you get an increase in the number of kids that are eligible to participate, but you also then have early Head Start created and even more kids come in. By we get into the early 2000s, you're stable, and we've basically been hovering around that area in terms of the number of kids, in that 900,000 to 1 million kids a year, been basically in that range ever since. And this is one of the interesting things that we see. Lots of people participating in the Head Start program. And remember, when we say this is the number of children that are funded, it's not just that child, you're bringing in the family members as well. The mother, the father, everyone involved is participating in the program. So there's a lot of people there. Funding for Head Start has consistently risen over time. Even if you control for changing value of the dollar, a cup of coffee today costs a lot more than a cup of coffee used to, the funding for Head Start has consistently risen. It is a bipartisan, very friendly priority because the program has this powerful impact, giving people the opportunity to break the cycle of poverty. So there's been stable support for Head Start over time. There have in recent years become it's a lot more competitive than it used to be. There are more and more childcare programs for early childhood education, more and more programs for universal childcare that at least are proposed in policy. So we see that policy in the area in which Head Start works continues to grow, continues to be a priority, and Head Start benefits from that attention, even while having to compete with other newer programs as well. One of the big things then is that Head Start has been successful at doing what it was originally designed to do in terms of being able to have this impact in the lives of tens of millions of people. The organization of Head Start is relatively straightforward. It's a reasonably simple structure as far as government structures go. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services controls the Head Start program through the Administration for Children and Families. So the Office of Head Start is the program that manages the specific Head Start program. It is within the Administration for Children and Families, which is in turn within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So when you hear HHS or ACF or OHS, these are the different layers we're talking about. The programs that actually get funding from the Office of Head Start to run Head Start and early Head Start programs are called recipients. And many recipients in larger areas or in largely geographically dispersed areas where it makes sense to centralize some of the funding, you can have sub-recipients as well. So you have a recipient program that gets the funding and then a sub-recipient that works with the recipient to actually deliver services on the ground. So it's, as government goes, this is relatively straightforward, but it's also unusual because what's happening is local recipients are doing the actual delivery of services for these larger government agencies. Now, recipients are the key to Head Start. They're the foundation of all of the actual provision of services all throughout the country. These are the local organizations that receive Head Start grant funding. So recipients are all over the country. One of the things that we see, though, is that they tend to be located where there's bigger population. The darker the green, the more Head Start participants there are. So you see the states that have the largest population: California, Texas, New York, Florida. Those programs, those states, are where the largest programs are. So more population, more people in poverty, more Head Start participants. The largest state is California with just under 90,000 Head Start participants. The smallest state is Vermont with just under 1,500 participants. So states vary widely, largely because of populations and the distribution of poverty in those states as well. So that's a quick review of Head Start history, the origins, the impact, and how it's organized. And one of the big things that we see then is Head Start was really created to be this program that would help break the cycle of poverty, give children and families an even opportunity, at least when they walk in the doors of kindergarten. And then hopefully, if the K-12 system does its job, there's a lot of opportunity for these kids as they get older. And they're able to grow and develop and mature in a world in which they have as much of a shot as at least the middle class kids do of moving up in the world, building a better life for themselves in the future. And most importantly, we want to break that intergenerational poverty trap. A child born into poverty has a good shot of getting out of poverty if they participate in a Head Start program. And tens of millions of families all over the country have participated in this program and have benefited from that. So that's your quick review of Head Start history, and you'll have some knowledge check questions coming up about that. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you very much. See you soon.